don't bite my head off. Sorry. Usually when I want to like binge on cookies, I want melty chocolate chip. I'm really surprised at how much I am enjoying gingerbread cookies this year. Dipped in coffee, dipped in hot cocoa. Welcome back. Or welcome if you haven't been here before. I'm going to try and keep today's video a little on the short side because I have a confession to make. I didn't film anything yesterday. I did get some stitching done. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, I think I want to take care of my advents for both yesterday and today. So it is Vlogmas number 8. So we are on number 8 for both boxes. So first we got the craft ornament. And we have hot cocoa. Oh, it's another felt one. Okay, I just prefer the felt ones. And it looks like it also has a lot of useless gems again, but I think I don't know. It's kind of weird actually that there's a cocoa with a bow on it, but I don't know. Might do that in a minute because I do enjoy the felt ones. They're kind of cute. They just feel more permanent, I guess. And then we have the puzzle. This one I've been trying to figure out what this picture might be because so far, like, they're all pretty much spoilers, and these two were almost exact. So, is it going to be a wreath? Is it going to be a pony? Is it going to be a carousel? It's going to be a carousel. Okay. I'm good at this guessing game. Yeah, okay, that's kind of cute. I actually am looking forward to doing that one. I do think I want to say about this. So anybody who didn't see the first one, I haven't been saying anything about these advents. They're just from Aldi. They're nothing major. I just thought it was fun that I found advents for two of the things that I like the most, crafts and puzzles. And they were like $8 each, which might still be a bit too much for what's in here. Although I guess there are 12 things. But anyway, this one in particular, it started off really disappointing. And they do seem to be getting better and better. And I hope we keep that trend because I am definitely of a mind that an advent should have the best thing on the last day. And this one will have a cardinal. Obviously, clearly, we're going to have a cardinal on the last day, but I hope it's a really good one. I really like this one. It was a lot harder than I expected it to be, but I really like this one. Like, a lot. I feel like it's really dumb. I don't like this one. This one's really dumb. Look at that. That's really dumb. That's dumb. Skipping the gems again. So back to the stitching. For anyone who missed my last video, this is what I am making. This is Jiffy Stitchery Panda Stocking Ornament. It is from 1979, which I get a kick out of because I am making it this year for a baby born this year, but the kit was created the year I was born. Anyway, so yeah, I had hoped I would get a lot more stitching done yesterday because it was my day off, but it was the kind of day where all the little piddly things add up. And, you know, I thought I had one or two chores, but one thing led to another, and they were all little, but they just added up, and it just took me so long to get settled. So this is as far as I got. So I did finish the back, with the exception of her name, which I'm going to put in. I think I'm going to put it in last. I'm still trying to decide if I want to do print or block letters or script. I got to decide what color. And if I don't finish it in time to give it to her for Christmas, then will I still give it to her or leave the name off and add it to my own collection? I don't know. But anyway, that side is completely done with the exception of her name. Then the other side, so far it's going much quicker. But this is the side where the instructions called for a Pueblo stitch. And I had mentioned that I'd never heard of it. And when looking at the diagram, it basically looked like a version of a split stitch. Not the type that I have ever done, but I think because usually when I do a split stitch, I'm working backwards. And this has you working forwards, where you're coming up through your previous stitch and then going forwards, as opposed to coming up in front of your previous stitch and then going down into it. So I was really curious about where this Pueblo stitch name came from, and if it really was supposed to be another name for a split stitch, or if it was supposed to be something else entirely. So I don't have a ton of stitch dictionaries for embroidery. Most of them are for needlepoint, but I do have this one. This was a gift from a friend way back at the beginning of my crafting, my reemergence into crafting. This is A to Z of embroidery stitches from Search Press Classics. It does not contain a Pueblo stitch. It does contain two versions of split stitch, one that it calls split stitch and one that it calls split back stitch. Now, the split back stitch in this book is what I always have thought of as a split stitch. And the stitch that this book refers to as split stitch pretty much resembles what this is calling a Pueblo stitch. So I'm pretty sure this is just a split stitch. But then I was still curious where this name came from and why they're calling it a Pueblo stitch if it's really just a split stitch. So I had to look it up online, and it appears to be something almost entirely different. It's constructed in a similar way where you bring your thread up inside your previous stitch and then carry forward. However, the Pueblo stitch, as I'm finding it online, appears to use two different colors of thread so that you get a kind of braided effect. And so that also kind of leads me to feel like, why are they calling it Pueblo here? And are they just appropriating the name? So for clarity and also for cultural reasons, I'm not going to call it Pueblo stitch anymore because it just isn't anyway. It's a split stitch, and that's what I'm going to call it. However, additionally, I might not even be doing that anymore. I think one of the bigger takeaways is that as I started working through this and trying to do what they were calling a blended satin stitch, I'm trying to blend the colors, and I realized, no, that's not at all what this should be. I think what they're actually going for is thread painting. So if you ever do one of these kits where it's calling for a satin stitch and a blended satin stitch and Pueblo stitch or any kind of split stitch, and the general idea is that you're blending colors, just use long and short and thread paint it. I think that's all it really needs. So that's what I'm going to do going forward. And I don't know when we started calling it thread painting, or if there was a different term for it in 1979, but honestly, that's what they're going for. So although I've gotten this amount done and I do need to carry on in a way that is visually similar, for the most part, I'm just going to treat it like thread painting. Anyway, that was a long-winded way to say that sometimes these vintage kits and vintage projects, they use different terms, and often they're just different names for things that we are still doing today. One of the ones that stands out to me the most when I go through some of my vintage pattern books is the Afghan stitch, which is basically Tunisian crochet, like the main basic Tunisian crochet stitch was referred to as the Afghan stitch. So, you know, I think this is just another one of those little anomalies, and I kind of always want to keep track of when we start using different names for these things. So, yeah. Well, I prattled on for about that, and I hope that made sense. I know that it was kind of a ramble because it's all just some jumbled up thoughts, but main takeaway is I'm not calling it Pueblo stitch. It's a split stitch, and Pueblo stitch might be appropriated anyway. And it's basically thread painting. It's a long, I just need to do long and short and thread painting. Like, they made it more complicated, I think, than it needed to be. So those are the main takeaways. Hopefully I can finish editing this video and get back to work on this tonight. I would really hope to get some more done, but I'm just gonna have to see how it goes. I try to predict how much stitching I can get done, and I'm always wrong, so I'm not gonna predict. And then there is one other little thing, and it's not really an activity, it's more of an idea. So I don't think it's in the shot right now, but last year I made this Santa coin bank. So I had the thought that what maybe I should do is try to put period appropriate coins in it. So it'll be a little coin time capsule. So I went through my coins last year, and any that were, you know, 80s or earlier, and I think there's a few from the 90s since this kit was probably made in the early 90s, and I put those in the bank. But then I had to pack it away, and I thought, well, what do I do now? How do I want to fill this bank. So when I was thrifting and I found this guy, I thought, perfect. So I have been filling this guy with my vintage coins all year long. There's not very many. There are a lot of shiny new coins out there, but we do have some. And so what I'm going to do every year is have this out all year, and I'm going to fill him with my vintage coins. And then at Christmas, I can empty him and fill Santa. And I will keep doing that until both banks are full. And Santa is actually a very large bank, and I think it's going to take a long time to fill it, especially since I'm only putting in coins from roughly, there's no hard cutoff, but somewhere in the mid 90s or earlier. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and transfer those coins today, and I don't know, I just thought that you might like that idea in case you ever have like a vintage coin bank. You could turn it into like a little time capsule, and it doesn't even have to be coins. It could be anything that, you know, any little things that are from that period, from that era that you would want to squirrel away. You could even do like notes or, you know, little letters to Santa. I don't know. I don't know. So anyway, that's it for today. I don't know if this ended up being as short as I hoped you would think, since I don't really have any action to show you except for the advents. But anyway, I will see you next time. Bye. Probably take 8 more years to fill that up.